We're live! Hooray! On the High Night Pod Twitch if you all want to watch along. But hello, everybody! We're here! Yippee! I actually, you know what I should do? I should put a little label on us right now. We'll see if I get it right, but, let's let me see if I'm writing in the right place. Nope, it's blocked. I actually gotta shrink us, that's what's happening. One moment. I'm gonna shrink all. Oh, no. I'm gonna shrink. Nope. I'm gonna shrink.
I wanna draw too. I can't believe I'm so jealous. Well, I say I'm jealous. I've got it so that I can see you too, but I'm really jealous of everyone watching who gets to see your lovely face. We don't get to see your face behind the scenes. We only get to see it through Twitch.
Oh no. Well, you can look at Twitch right now, and here I am, because the webcam's not sharing. The webcam's not sharing me. That's what's happening right now. Hey, let me see if I get this right this time. Okay, did I write that M correctly? I did it! Yay! Okay, so mythology talk. There we go. That's the box. That's our box. Yippee! Okay. This time there was minimal technical difficulties. Hello, everybody. Less so. I should probably grab my phone so I can actually look at the stream. But be right back immediately. Thank you so much for joining me, by the way.
Okay, quick. Motzi is gone. It's time for us to take over the crowdfunder and the channel.
Hello. Okay, let me make sure that everyone knows that this is happening. What that will mean is, unfortunately, you will all freeze for a moment, because for some reason, every time I leave a window, everything just freezes. I'm so sorry.
Everyone do a weird pose.
Yeah, do it right now. You're gonna be stuck. Here we go. Let me just make sure that's muted. Please don't make sounds. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, we are here, and I should absolutely also make sure that everybody knows about this. I'm just going to do a very quick social post, and on my. Okay, I'm just gonna ping everybody in the Discord. Everyone loves it when that happens. Okay.
I always feel so bad doing an at everyone ping, and I'm just like, look. It's my server, and you need to know about my podcast.
Exactly, it's important. They just gotta live with it. Yippee! This is Mythology Talk, with from left up to right down. There is Eira, Ella, Hero, and me, Motzi. We are here to discuss again, as before, mythology and folklore. And I would like to ask, how is everybody doing today?
I'm pretty good. I've got a cat right here.
Cat!
Oh, she's so beautiful as well. Eira's cat is like a supermodel cat. Look how beautiful she is.
Kibi.
Oh, stunning.
Love it.
So if you see a little thing flicking around by my face, it's her tail.
Yeah.
I'm
getting secondary allergies already. I've been a little itchy today, and it's just it's the change in weather, unfortunately. Okay, let me just retweet this or re-skeet this. That's what I call it on Blue Sky, re-skeet.
I can't get used to the skeeting. I can't be doing with it. It's just a tweet.
Yeah, no, it's just a tweet, fully. Like, yeah, I'm just like, you know what? Again. If they wanted it to be otherwise, then the world could be less absurd. But since it's not, then, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to draw a vampire that is both,
oh, that's amazing. That's so good.
I was trying to do, like, a Western vampire, but then I also wanted it to be, like, the Filipino one with the intestines. But then I'm not good at drawing, so...
It's so funny.
I saw the vampire face developing, and I was intrigued, and then the rest happened.
And
I looked down, and I was like, "Oh, it's a vampire."
You know what?
It sure is.
Eating a Mr. Prosecco head.
Genuinely, wait, Motzi, what what rating is this stream? Can I mention something from the Pinoy Monster Lover anthology?
Yes, you can. Go ahead. I have been showing a lot of blood on this stream, and I don't know. Twitch hasn't gotten mad at me yet, but we'll see.
Okay. So, like, the previous anthology that Motsi was involved in crowdfunding, comic anthology that Motsi was involved in crowdfunding was the Pinoy Monster Lover anthology, which I am a proud owner of, and
Yes.
it's great. I fucking love monster fucking. And one of my favorite ones was someone took the Filipino vampire where it's, you know, the torso with the intestines coming out and was like, you could fuck that. And it's, you know what? They do a great job figuring out the logistics of it, and I love it.
Yeah, and they got Pikachu in there. I will not explain further. You got to get an add-on to see what I mean. But they did get Pikachu in there. I'm not lying, and Ella knows this. Yeah. So
yeah, no, I do. It's
yes,
true.
absolutely. So just to explain why we're all here. I've invited my friendly friends.
Friendly friends.
We are your friendly friends.
I had to work today. Oh, anyway, I have invited my friends from wonderful audio dramas to join me in promoting this new comic that I'm doing, the Pinoy Monster Horror Anthology, which is on Kickstarter. Please do check it out. It is it's really cool. It's the continuation of our series. I mean, you can start anywhere really, but the last one was the Pinoy Monster Lover Anthology After Dark, which was an erotic anthology. So this one is the next one. We do it so that we can make sure that amazing Filipino artists are supported in their work, because we are very underpaid. We're so underpaid. It's not even, it's very underpaid. And me and some artist friends, I want to make sure that they're paid well and that we can get all these books to people in their hands, in their houses, in their homes. And yeah, so that's basically what we're doing. So check it out. I'm going to leave a link in the chat, but at the same time, you can enjoy these wonderful little doodles that everyone's filling the screen with. Isn't it awesome? Teehee.
I don't know what pumpkin leaves look like, so that's...
Ooh, welcome Halo
pretty
Cat,
great.
and welcome Fractal Fan Alex. Oh, lovely to see you. I love seeing listeners down here. Let's get to goal. Yippee. And I should pin that. That's the message. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of going by shenanigans here, but I did invite people so that they could, you know, chat about mythology and folklore, and I would love to, but first, before anything else, very beautiful hero, I want to ask everybody to sort of tell us about their projects and their shows and why you like to chat about monsters and mythology and folklore. Who wants to start? I'm not picking, and that could have made life easier for everybody, but
I'm gonna volunteer Eira, because he literally just launched a show that is narrated by a monster from folklore, so I feel like he kind of put himself in this position.
Yeah, I did. I just launched 12 Elms, which is like a fantasy mystery. And it's a sort of response to other stories set at magical learning institutions.
As
No
you know,
trademark. And it's told
Like
from
Mashal.
the narrator is and like very, very mild spoilers for the first episode of 12 Arms. But he's a Selkie.
Ooh.
And yeah, he kind of comes into the story. He's an outsider to the world and basically to everything. He's had like zero experiences, net experiences as zero. He's lived in an attic for most of his life. And then all of a sudden he's in this magical world full of all of these weirdo elitists who are like, you're not supposed to be here. And he's like, no, I'm not. And he has to keep his identity a secret. Yeah, it's all about like, it's really about exploring the ways that folklore can intersect with like queer identity and stuff like that. There's an interaction that will be happening later in the series with him and a trans character involving some really hilarious miscommunication about what each of them is and what hiding who they are means in these contexts and stuff. So that's really fun.
Trans or Selkie?
A Selkie. A Selkie, if you don't know, is a person who can turn into a seal. And part of the mythology is that when they turn into a person, they have this coat, this Selkie coat. And a lot of the legends center around like a man is on a beach and he sees the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. And then she puts on her coat and she turns back into a seal. And he's like, what? And then he plans to steal the coat, and he steals the coat and forces her to be his wife and keeps her forever. So that's like the cornerstone of what Selkie mythology is. And then there's a little bit of folklore about Selkies who are men, and in all of those, it feels like the men are hot, and that's basically the basis of it. It's like man Selkies are hot. Moving on, and yeah, so that's what Selkies are.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a really fun Tumblr post that was sort of just an artist who I think has a background in, I don't know, either a background in or just a special interest in like animals and stuff, but they were doing comics of like Selkie babies versus regular seal babies, and it was like Selkie babies are much more helpless than regular seal babies, because regular seal babies are ready to go right away, whereas Selkie babies are much smaller, they can't lift their own heads, they kind of like, they're not quite there yet. Then at a certain point of development, the Selkie, like the human face emerges from the seal's mouth, and it was just like slightly horrifying but also really fun to think about. And it made me think of 12 Elms. 12 Elms is really cool, good, and you should listen to it. Thank you.
Heck yeah. Also, I'm sorry to add to your drawing, but there, I've given the Selkie a coat. There you go.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah, let me give it like.
He's so cozy.
He's so cozy. Look, and he's cute and happy. That's what I want for your Selkie.
That's what everyone wants for Cyan, I think. Yeah. Across the board, the main response has been, give this man a hug.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, Eira, I have a pressing question from your fans. Will you ever stop, hi, Ella Watts, Manchester reporting here. Eira Major, will you ever stop writing Doomed Yowie?
No.
Thanks for the confirmation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You want it to be nice and fluffy, but you don't. You want to suffer.
There you go.
It's true. I thought the ending to Not Quite Dead was the best ending you could have done. What can I say?
Hero, this is amazing, by the way.
Yeah. I love how Hero just like showed up. I was really like, I can probably get somewhere in my trackpad, and Hero's just being like, oh, what? Like, it's hard?
Truly, just magical stuff happening right here. He is a beautiful
If you say hot Selkie man, that's what I assume you mean.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Ooh, who wants to go next in telling us about their current projects right now? Ella.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, no, that's fair enough. I threw Eira in it. Well, so actually, I have a project that is coming up that I'm really excited about. So I am working with Lauren Shippen, who made the Bright Sessions.
Hell yeah.
On basically Lauren's next big show. It's called Phantom Pulse. It is about a bunch of queer 20-somethings in the 90s and their very shitty punk band. And it just so happens that when they play music, they can exorcise ghosts. And so they're on their first ever tour. They're really excited. They're like, obviously people have hired us for our music. That's not true. They keep going to like abandoned hotels and stuff. And they're like, man, people only love us for our ghost busting powers and not for our sick chords. Anyway, it's going to be really cool. We've confirmed that we've got like Erika Ishii in it. We've got
amazing.
Regan Snow, who plays Caleb in the Bright Sessions.
Yeah.
A couple of other very, very cool actors that we are going to be announcing. And we are going to be crowdfunding that show really soon. And it's relevant because it's about ghosts. I fucking love a ghost. Yeah, ghosty times coming up in November. Phantom Pulse. I will be assistant directing and assistant producing with Lauren leading it. And I'm really excited about working with her because I've been a big fan of hers for like literally since I started listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So
Lauren's amazing.
I'm a little hyped about it. Yeah. I'm quite excited. It's going to be really cool. Yeah.
That's so cool. And finally, last but not least, Hero, please tell us about your projects right now.
Yeah, so my current project is Traveling Light, which is not really anything to do with monsters at all.
It's gorgeous. They kind of are. They're aliens.
With aliens, yeah.
They're alien
It's
people.
like Dan logic.
Yeah,
aliens
exactly.
and monsters can coexist.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, okay. We're very, it's very science fantasy, not science fiction. We are not trying, these are not proper aliens. We're not trying to do anything crazy with spaceships. We're just like, the spaceships work. Don't ask questions.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so it's about our little tagline is queer and cozy science fantasy about exploring the galaxy and celebrating difference.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, we previewed it on High Night. I'm so excited about it.
I think
such
in the
a
world
gorgeous
of
show.
I think in the world of fiction podcasting, doing something where like nobody is getting murdered or bludgeoned to death
Oops.
or transformed into horrible creatures
Oops.
or eaten. They're just kind of having a nice time.
I was going to say, Hero, are you just coming for Motzi and Eira here?
Listen.
I'm just adding a little freshness to the medium, you know. Had a nice time. So yeah, it's very somebody did describe it the other day on Tumblr as being cozy, as in the stakes are usually personal and relational, not as in like a witch looking for her cat in the Alps.
Yeah.
Things do happen. There is a plot. So that's Traveling Light, and it also, I think the main thing for me about Traveling Light is that we do choose your own adventure.
Ooh.
Every couple of weeks we do an audience vote on what we're doing next, and we also take audience submissions, so it's a very like audience collaboration kind of way of writing, which is super fun. So we had a poll this week actually for the next stage of the plot, and it closed at lunchtime, which means I have from lunchtime on Tuesday until basically Friday to write the episode.
I know how that feels.
On the vote. It's fun. It's exciting. So it's basically just exploring the galaxy. It's a little. They're not a monk, but they are like sort of traveling around in this religious capacity, meeting people and reporting back to their community. It's nice.
That's
I feel
wonderful.
like I should apologize because I've definitely described them as a monk more than once, and I'm so sorry, Hero. I was just clearly.
Hero was calling you out specifically, like they're not a monk.
In the show. They're not a monk. Ella.
I'm sorry, Hero.
How dare you, Ella?
I've had like characters in the show call them a monk and a priest and all of that kind of stuff, and they're just like, I'm not that.
That's really fun. But yeah, I guess it's my turn to chat about. And by the way, the art for that series is so cute. Every time I see it, I just want to share it. Because Hero does art for every episode. Every single episode.
It's not me, it's my partner.
Oh, your partner. What's the name of your partner?
Yeah, it's my partner, Matt McDyer. So he's, I think, McDyer Matt 31 on everything, or Diabetic Spoon on a lot of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he is wonderful. He's also the show's co-creator, and he is really fabulous. That's all his art. And every time he draws something, I'm like, this is great. This is such a cool show.
It's so good.
And also, doesn't like Matt do? I'm sure I've seen like you have like blog posts where both of you like kind of talk about stuff about like the story and how you design it, your approach to storytelling on your Patreon. And sometimes Matt writes in those as well as you. Am I imagining this?
Yeah. We alternate weeks. It's on our Ko-fi, and it's his turn this week. So yeah, we alternate. So he quite often goes into detail about like what his inspiration was for the art and how like what his references were and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, he goes into a bit more detail on those.
That's
It's
awesome.
really cool.
That's so cool. But yeah, I guess it's my turn to chat about what I've been working on. So, I mean, this is the main thing. I've been working on making sure this comic happens. Really excited to, get it funded and finish it off because we do have 56 preview pages, which means it is more than halfway done already. We wanted to make sure it was mostly done by the time we started funding. And so if you want to check out the page, you just search Pinoy Monster Horror Anthology on Kickstarter and you can find the 56 preview pages from these
Good Lord.
amazing artists. Like, you just get to read basically a comic for free already, and we're just asking for money to support the artists, to pay for them, like, and their art, make sure that they get paid properly, and also just for printing and delivery fees. That's really all it is. It's support the artists and printing and delivery fees, and we're not gonna get fancier than that. But it's really great because I've mentioned that Filipino artists tend to be very underpaid, to the point that, like, it's quite bad. And so seeing, what we can make for artists, like, on these projects really makes me happy. I think it was like last year where I paid like one of the artists half of what they were earning, and they were already like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Am I sure? What do you mean?" And she was just like, "I guess I'm used to being I'm used to being paid way less than this." And I'm like, "Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too." I know how that feels. So it was really nice. It was a nice feeling. And you can also have that nice feeling if you help support us and get us to our goal. But other than that, actually,
I really recommend paying artists as a mood boost. Like, if you're feeling a bit blue in the colder months, just give a starving artist some money. It'll make you feel better.
Yeah, and listen, the entire thing is in Canadian dollar. I mean, obviously, whatever money, what's the word? Currency you have will show up on Kickstarter. But we are like funding with Canadian dollars, which is cheaper than US dollars and cheaper than British pounds. So, it's not going to be like, it's not going to take too much out of your bank account if you I mean, who knows what's true anymore, but the assumption was at first that it was not going to take that much out of the bank account. But the world has changed in the past like 6 months, so maybe I'm wrong. But if you can spare like 30 Canadian, which is or 20 Canadian for the PDF and 30 Canadian for the comic, which is about 20 something US for the physical and 15 for the
I can
digital.
tell you what it is in pounds because I've got the Kickstarter live and it'll tell me what it is in my currency. So
yeah, what's it in pounds?
Give me a second, I want to tell you. Okay, rewards loading. Yeah, $20 is £11. Which is for the PDF, the digital copy. And that's like, yeah, like, and then $30 is £17. So that's super, 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 like, from a UK perspective, those are like pretty low prices. That's pretty affordable. Like, yeah.
For 100 pages of art, by the way.
Yeah.
And a lot of it very erotic. So, well, not as erotic as our last one, but still quite a bit of eroticism.
Hey, listen. Also, sometimes the romance is about it's what you don't show, you know?
True.
And also just like, I think as queers we should all support monster fucking and independent artists. Like, what two things are more queer than that? But genuinely, it's such a amazing price for so much like fantastic and beautiful art. And also, like, if you've decided to watch a mythology stream with us, then presumably you might possibly some person watching this might be interested in mythology. I really, really love these comic anthologies because it just gives me like access to a bunch of different ways that people like think about mythology, a bunch of mythologies that I'm not familiar with. Yeah. I just really like reading about other people's stories and fairy tales and folklore. And like one of the reasons that I really enjoy chatting to Motzi is just like learning about mythologies that are pretty hard to learn about based in the UK. Just if you like mythology, like even if you're not interested in the romance, like get it to learn about some cool mythologies that you might never have encountered before.
Each comic actually has a little monster guide, so It's especially funny when you think about the first Kickstarter comic that we did was the erotic one. And so in like at the beginning of all the porn, we were like, by the way, here's a quick rundown on what each monster is. from Maximo Oliveras's Creatures of Lower Mythology. Here we describe this is what tikbalang is. Now here you can enjoy this person getting fucked by a tikbalang. Anyway, we want to be educational. We want to be educational, and we're gonna be that again.
You succeed.
That's literally how we do it. We have like one page of monster information and the other page of spice level to be like this comic is very spicy and this comic is mildly spicy. That's what we do.
It rules.
It
really rules.
Yeah. Oh, and if you don't mind me sharing, I do have one other project I want to share about, if that's all right with all of you.
Yeah,
of course.
Yes. So, obviously, I do Hainai. So I do Hainai a lot. I really, Hainai is a horror podcast set in Toronto, but with a Filipino lead, and has similar vibes where, we have folklore, mythology, and we have like a lot of. We have BIPOC and queer characters. It's kind of inspired by the Magnus Archives, but it's very different from the Magnus Archives in terms of culture. But if you like having like that analog sound with like the tape recorders and the phone calls and all that, that's definitely our vibe. And you can learn about a lot of weird and wonderful monsters from the world. But also, other than Hainai, I have actually been working on a new mini series that we're gonna be funding for soon enough. Not quite yet, months from now. But this mini series is something very close to my heart. I've already gotten the pilot recorded. We're getting ready for the launch. But basically, who here likes religious horror or dislikes it?
Yay!
I don't know. Who wants to hear about religious horror?
Religious horror.
Yippee! Yippee! So I'm about to do a religious horror short series, audio series, about it's called Dominus. It's about these 3 Catholic priests who get trapped in an isolated mansion in the middle of Ontario with a demon. But the twist is that the demon is extremely Catholic, so none of their Catholic rites work on exorcising it.
That slaps. That's so good.
Yeah, and so... sorry, what was that?
No, I mean, I have to admit that given what we were just talking about, really found it hard to get my mind out of the gutter. Every time you paused, you were like, 3 Catholic priests alone in a house in the middle of nowhere. 3 Catholic priests with a demon in the middle of nowhere.
Lost all his clothes.
Yeah.
Baby oil.
All I'm saying is that demons work with temptation, and that's 3 very repressed men locked in a house together. And
I know
they could do something about that.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
I assume instead it's going to be deeply distressing, psychological, violent horror, but still.
I feel like Ella, you're gonna have the first fic on AO3.
Do it.
You can't say that because then Motzi's going to be put in a weird legal position. Don't worry, Motzi. I say on public, I will never write fanfiction of your cool.
And I say in public, I will definitely never read it 10,000 times. So that will definitely not happen. I will definitely not log on to AO3 and save it. But okay, just a quick tangent. I'm so sorry. A quick tangent. Ella, do you know what the latest Hainai episode is?
I haven't listened yet, so no.
So the latest Hainai episode is episode 69. So we had to get a bit thematic with that one. And when you said like psychologically distressing, that I have to say that does not preclude erotic sexiness, because that's what we did in episode 69. It is half psychologically distressing, half extremely sexy, and so
yeah, and I would expect nothing less. You know what? Genuinely, the problem is that because backed High Nine. So I got that on the 1st of October, and I have ADHD. The 1st of October was 17 years ago.
Fair. Yes, correct. You could listen to it and understand why it's psychological horror and also very erotic.
Babe, you say this as if I'm not going to listen to it immediately after this stream.
and the best part is it's... Oh, sorry, go. Yes.
Sorry, no, I totally get it. The entire premise of Not Quite Dead is, psychologically distressing and extremely sexy.
Yes, that's the best part.
I have an actual problem, which is that me and Eira live really close to each other, and I had to say to him, like, I had to stop listening to Not Quite Dead for a long time because it was like, I know you too well, and you voice all of these characters, and I can't listen to you describing
you can't be sexy,
hot, nasty vampire sex when it's happening to you that you're doing to other people, and then go have tea with you and be normal about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that means you never listened to the episode where they fuck in the cathedral. So.
Oh, I haven't.
This is the best. Yeah. Okay, wait. I just realized I haven't been checking the chat. I'm sorry, chat. Hello, chat. Okay. Here's Halo Cat saying many wonderful things. What if we were trapped in a cabin together? That's so true. But yeah, so sorry, I just wanted to make sure there weren't any questions. But okay, so back away from my very big tangent. I'm so sorry. The as you mentioned, because you mentioned cathedral, Eira.
Yes.
But in Dominus, it is about 3 Catholic priests. It is about them being isolated. It is about the fact that like the demon itself is Catholic and so isn't affected. But one of the fun parts of it is that my favorite of the 3 priests is a Filipino priest, and he is what I like to call so there's something, how folk religion exists, like how certain very large religions become sort of not even syncretized, like it kind of gets absorbed into sort of like folk beliefs and stuff. So one of the priests is actually his sister is a babaylan, so like a shaman, and he, even though he isn't an actively ordained priest of the Catholic Church, he is very heavy into folk religion. And so what ends up being the other big twist is that the demon, very Catholic, suddenly gets a challenge when he meets a priest who is also Catholic, but in a spicy way, like spicy Catholic or like folk Catholic, with a lot of very what we would call quote unquote pagan practices to him. So
I'm sorry, Modsy. Hang on. Okay, this sounds like it fucks so hard. I'm so excited for it. It's going to be brilliant. I know it is. I love your writing. Also, have you just made a metaphor about how it's necessary to introduce genetic diversity to the theological gene pool of Catholicism? Because without it, we will destroy ourselves.
Yes.
Because that's beautiful.
Yes. And this was actually, like, this is genuinely inspired, and this is going to sound really dumb, but bear with me here. This is inspired by Pope Francis. So, R.I.P. Pope Francis. I'm still Catholic, by the way. I didn't leave the Catholic faith. I'm still Catholic. But this was inspired by Pope Francis because he did literally the same thing. He was the first pope from the global south. And so, which completely changed the Catholic Church, like, entirely from like the ground up. And it's similar thing where it's like you have 3 Catholic priests, but they're not the same kind of Catholic, like Catholicism is so big that like you are not gonna have the same Catholic. Like the Catholics from the global south are different from the Catholics of the global north. The Catholics from the Vatican are different from Catholics of like the Philippines, blah blah blah. You get the idea. Anyway, that's the fun part about the writing of this, because obviously I'm going to go into a lot of deep psychological horror, but I'm also just going to have fun with the fact that like all of these Catholic boys are so different from each other and they're going to fight about it, and it's going to be a great time. But
I completely love that. Did you ever hear the podcast, The Gospels of the Flood?
No, but it sounds amazing. That's a cool title. Please tell me.
It's really great. It's like a self-contained. It's only like 6, maybe 8 episodes. Maybe it's 12. It would make sense if it was 12. Anyway, the point is, it's not many episodes. It's self-contained. It's a single narrator, and basically set in a world where the world floods one day. Just ocean swallows the world. There is a biblical flood, and there's very, very little people and land left, and they are like watching the flood come closer, and they are sure that the flood is going to drown them too. And it's written by a video game writer. I'm pretty sure it was the guy who wrote the Stanley Parable. But yeah, I know, wild. He did one podcast that no one noticed, and that was it. But like, I'm really, really into podcasts. So yeah, and it's narrated from the perspective of a priest who lost his faith the day that a biblical flood hit the world, because for him that was the breaking point of like, how could God do this to us? But then it's him speaking to other specifically Catholic priests about like how their faith has been affected or not affected by the flood. And one of my favorites is this guy who is he's really, really involved with like the communities. He's helping them. He's moving the sandbags. He's doing a lot of physical work, and it's very dangerous, and he's really helping desperate people. And then the narrator kind of says to him, but like, how can you, it's pointless, it's hopeless, like we're all gonna die anyway, we're all gonna drown, like how can you keep doing this? Is it just because you believe in God? And the priest he's talking to is like, oh no, I stopped believing in God years ago. And the narrator is like, wait, okay, hang on. But you're still the priest to all these people, and you're doing all this, and you're gonna die, and you're not with your family or your friends, and you're dedicating yourself to this. And the priest that he's talking to is like, yeah, just because I don't believe in it doesn't mean that I shouldn't do it. I think it's still the right thing to do. And so he's just like, I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't need to believe to do it. And it's a really neat, fun little thing. But yeah, like Pope Francis and like liberation theology and bringing liberation theology closer to the Catholic Church, very, very cool moment, I think, in recent Catholic history. And also on mixing religions, like there's the Desperado thing of obviously like kind of Latin America, and bringing in like a lot of Latin American folk gods that are essentially like versions of especially like Mary and Mary Magdalene, and the whole thing that like in the world of Desperado, which is another audio drama, it follows three gods of death who are trying to kill the old man in the sky, which is to say the American version of like Protestant Christian God. And one of them is the avatar of this folk, I believe Mexican folk religion version of a Catholic interpretation of Mary as like mother of blood. And that's really, really cool in how it plays with these relationships. But also one of my favorite things, because I love medieval history, is all like British folk magic revolves around Christianity. The way that you normally time a spell is you recite a psalm, because in medieval England, the easiest way to measure time was how long it took you to say a psalm out loud, which was normally about 60 seconds. So most of our like spells and riddles and stuff from like the 1400s and 1300s are things like, go bury a frog beneath a cross on your local causeway and then recite Psalm 400 and whatever, and then at the end of the psalm your brother will be cursed with chickenpox. And it's like, it's beautiful, it's yeah, like okay, I'm done now.
Ella, I love it. Ella, thank you. And also, Hero, I love your drawing. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Would we like to go on to a new canvas so that we can have more space to draw again?
That sounds good.
Wonderful.
Mostly I love the vampire.
Yay,
She's
thank
so cute.
you. Okay, so this is how you can do it. You can actually, what you can do is you can hit Shift N for a new layer, and then if you see the layers there, you just click the second, like the icon with the person and the, the icon with the eye, and then just make that layer disappear, essentially. So I'm going to keep the text. So this is how, Shift N for a new layer, and then just click the icon with the eye to make the current layer invisible. So it's like that. I'm going to keep the text, but you should be able to do that. And then Shift N for a new layer. Let me erase my heart. Sorry about that.
No, I think keep the hearts scattered throughout the canvas.
True. But yeah.
Right in the place.
Yeah. So Shift N for new.
I'm fascinated by the
What's that?
Catholic demon as well. I think like demons with like strong face fucking slaps. Like as an idea. Yeah,
they're gonna be so dangerous. Is the thing.
Come across that in Judaism as well, where it's like you get the Shadim who still go to the temple. Like, they still worship God. There's they're absolutely part and parcel of Judaism. Their Judaism is part and parcel of them.
Yeah.
They're just also, which I think is really fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I find that really fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And there was I just wanted to like add like yeah, as mentioned, the part of the character that is like very pagan, quote unquote, in a lot of ways is what I find really interesting about him. And also because it's me, of course at least one of the priests will be gay. I say at least one. I'm not going to spoil anything else, but gay priests, anyway. It's healthy for the environment.
Frankly, I think, listen, every single priest has decided that he loves God and Jesus more than anything else. So aren't all priests gay, really, when you think about it?
When you think about it. Mm-hmm. They're marrying Jesus.
I'm just saying.
Oh,
exactly.
You've devoted your life to a dude.
If you devoted your life to a man.
Like, I'm sorry, just to like, let's go over this. Every single day, you ritually take him into your mouth and tell him you love him. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's something to consider. Exactly. And
love how Eira very patiently just being like, just not saying anything, but there's this aura of gay judgment.
I mean, like, you swallow and don't spit the Eucharist, so
yeah, you're not allowed to bite either.
This is what I was hoping for.
don't bite.
Okay. Oh, and here's some exciting stuff that is like obviously thematically it's super fun. Here's some exciting stuff that I can already tell people about. So since we've already recorded the pilot, that means I can tell people who the cast is. So I have a question. Has anybody heard of the video game Disco Elysium?
Yes. No, see, this is why I got excited, because I remembered I'd seen you posting about this before when you were like, oh, maybe I'm going to mention. I was like, ha 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 ha. My digital stalking has paid off.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, I mean, does everyone here know Disco Elysium or yes?
Well, I don't know about people watching.
Yes.
I mean, I know about it, but I don't know about people watching.
No one's saying they don't in the chat, so I think you're good.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So Disco Elysium has this really wonderful narrator who has one of the most intensely deep voices you've ever heard in your life. And I asked him out of the blue one day if he would be the main character in this podcast, and he said yes. So I got to record with him, and he is the main priest of the three priests, and it's gonna be a good time because the episode literally. Oh, sorry.
I said that's so fun. I'm just excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the episode literally opens with a bunch of people doing confessions with him, so you get to hear his voice in the context of like this very quiet, very like space where all you'll hear is his voice. And I was like, let's go. That's a spiritual experience right there. If you've ever heard this man's voice.
Wait. Monty, what's the name of this show? Have you shared that?
Oh, so I haven't. So I still need to like make, I still have to put it on the feed and stuff because we still have to finish writing. We still have to finish editing the pilot, but it should be up in late November, early December. It's called Dominus. Oopsie.
Right, yes, thank you, Dominus. So I'm very excited, but also I have to say, I don't know if you've seen this whole thing about how, the folks who made Disco Elysium, then their company got bought out, and then the creative team split, and now they all keep doing crowdfunders for the spiritual successor to Disco Elysium.
Yes.
But what I was going to say is, Monty, are you telling me that you are making the true spiritual successor to Disco Elysium?
It's very spiritual, yes, that's very true. It is the most spiritual successor to Disco Elysium.
Exactly. It's just like, listen, did you not want more explicit gay in your Disco Elysium?
Yes.
This is how that can happen for you.
Yes, exactly.
Support this podcast.
Mm-hmm. That's how you do it. But yeah, and I'm super excited because obviously he's the main guy. But then we have some other wonderful voice actors. So if you know Anusha Battersby, who plays Gwen Bouchard from the Magnus Protocol, she is playing Mary, is her name, the possessed one. So she gets to play the possessed lady. Which is going to be awesome. And we also have, for the second priest, we have Kareem Kronfli, who has played some absolutely wonderful characters across like horror podcasts and podcasts in general. And we have, for the third one, actually, here's a fun thing. He is not known as a voice actor necessarily, but the third priest is played by a friend of mine named Lexter Victorio. And Ella, you might recognize the name because Lex was one of the artists on the erotic comic. And
No way!
he is best known for his erotic audio. So my third priest, my Filipino priest, is most well known for doing erotic audio commissions. Yippee!
Yes.
That's why I'm stacking
the Venn diagram between like sex workers and indie artists is all too often a circle, and I gotta say it's the best. It's like, yeah, we want you here. Please come here. Please do voice acting for us. Yeah. Oh, Nimbus.
Cat.
Oh.
She's just faffing about. I don't know what's going on.
Mirror is doing the same. She keeps trying to get my hair tie.
Kibi.
She's currently behind the laptop, and I'm really hoping she doesn't knock it over.
Kibi.
We'll find out.
Love it. Oh, is Lou here? Hi, Lou. We're gonna talk to Lou tomorrow, so that's gonna be fun.
Lou, hi.
Hi, Lou.
Yay.
Hey.
My cat's nickname is Lou, so I was like,
We're all saying hello to your cat. Your cat's in chat, by
is
the
he in
way.
the room with?
Check chat.
Wait.
Say hi to your cat.
I was thinking about our talk tonight and mythology and the fact we were doing a drawing stream. I have a challenge that is probably primarily for Hero and Moxie, but you know, like me and Eira can have a go if we want to.
I've given up entirely. I did try to use my mouse, it keeps sticking. It's like, no.
That's fair. You can write messages. That's what you can do.
Yeah.
But Eira, you know, you must be familiar with, or maybe have heard of the Abank.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Why don't you share what you know about it?
I don't. I feel I'm less
sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
describing it than you.
But it is a Welsh water dragon. That's like the main thing. Is the story. And then the wider story is that unusually, because I think a thing that's really cool, in my opinion, but I would love genuinely to know your thoughts as well, Eira, is that like I think that's quite interesting about specifically like I wish we had a better word for it. The landmass that is Britain. Including Scotland and Wales, is that, you know, the Welsh, as the indigenous people of this land, the Britons of Britain, a lot of the time Welsh folk stories and folklore, instead of having the magical creatures or peoples being hostile to them, they're like really friendly to them. The magical creatures of the British Isles are only dangerous to the English. They're not dangerous to the Welsh a lot of the time. One of my favourite examples of this is that you have the Goragad Anon, who are like the water women, basically, but like the women, fairy women who come out of lakes. And like, unlike, for example, the stories of Selkies that we get of like where, you know, the Selkies are kind of tricked kind of cruelly into being stuck there. The Goragad Anon, like, deliberately, they just fucking love Welshmen. They just really like them. They leave their waters of their own free will. They can return at any point they want. They are magical healers, and they just like regularly marry into Welsh families. And the stories are like, yeah, no, there was no coercing, there was no tricking. They just like met this cool Welsh guy one day, and were like, you know what, I want to marry you, and there we go. And it's kind of fun. Like, I think especially when you look at, for example, the stories of Selkies, because something that people don't always realize with Scotland in particular is that northeast Scotland, the Picts, are kind of the indigenous people of Scotland, but then west and southwest Scotland in particular was primarily settled by Irish settlers who were known as the Dalriada. And this idea of, like, again, just this ever so slight theme in the stories where it's like the land isn't quite your friend. Kind of turns up more in like the south and west of Scotland, which I think is interesting, and again very much in England, but not so much Wales. Anyway, a thing that's kind of interesting about the Avank is it's unusual for a Welsh piece of folklore in that the Avank isn't necessarily friendly. It poisons your water, it's a newer story. It's not quite as old, we think, as some of the other folklore that we have from Wales. Anyway, the reason I bring it up and the challenge that I am laying at your feet, Hero or Motzi, is that the Avank is described as a crocodile platypus dragon.
Also beaver.
Yeah, beaver as well. Yeah.
I lived when I lived in Wales. I grew up in North Wales, and about an hour's drive from where I lived, there's a lake called Llyn yr Afanc, which is the Avank's lake, and
so cool.
it was there were rumours that it lived in it. The Avank lives in there. Just like sort of vague sense of peril and don't drink the lake water because an Avank lives in it. And so that's primarily my understanding of Avanks, which is why I forewent actually giving the description, because for me it's like, oh, it's a spooky lake monster that lives in the lake.
It is a spooky lake monster. It's a spooky beaver, crocodile, platypus lake monster. But you know what I think is also really, really cool is like one of my favorite things is looking at the connections between the landscape and the natural world and the history of folklore and magic. One fun example is that in the 1500s, English doctors would hang up red curtains when they were treating people for measles, and it was because it was believed that the red curtains would keep little devils out from flying into the room. Now, whilst there may or may not have been literal little devils, what we do now know is that by hanging up red curtains, they prevented infrared light coming in, which meant that people had less scars when they healed from their measles, because the scars were less visible because they were preventing the red light. So it's like stuff like that I really like. Anyway, but it kind of makes me wonder with the Avank, especially the way you described it, Eira, if there's kind of an element of, obviously Wales has a lot of caves and a lot of different natural ore deposits. It is, as a physical land, quite a wealthy area, although God knows the English have robbed it. But I wonder whether there is a thing about like mineral deposits, that there are some lakes in England and Wales and like rivers and stuff that maybe would be dangerous, that you wouldn't want to go into because there are like caves down there, or there are ore deposits that mean just people get sick from it. And I'm wondering like if maybe that fed into the myth.
I do find stuff like that really intriguing. Like, there's a bunch of caves near where I lived, that had been said they were haunted for a really long time, but it turns out they were full of carbon dioxide and another kind of gas. So you'd go and like there'd just be dead things in the mouth of the cave because they'd all suffocated. And yeah, it's just cool stuff like that, where the intersection of it's spooky and bad, don't go there, meets like the scientific reality of it. I think selkies are another really interesting one there, because I don't know if you've heard a seal. They make these sounds that they sound like a person laughing, and it's uncanny. If you were just walking along a beach at night, you'd think it was a person laughing. And when they make these like big guttural screaming sounds, and they sound like a person being attacked, and then these really human sounds, so it's only really a hop, skip, and a jump then from quite often the Selkie's voice is a key part of the story, so you'll hear singing in the mist, and so like from the laughter, this beautiful laughter that people hear, and it turns out it's just a seal just having a great time eating a fish, and someone has mistakenly gone, that's a person that I've seen, and they arrive and it's a seal, but they were so sure. And I love stuff like that.
And I think especially when you think about like the lack of artificial light historically, like I think a lot of people don't realize like how much just not being able to see stuff clearly would have impacted your perception of the world. Like the fact is that seals are often about human size, and if a seal is lounging on a rock and you're in the dark and you don't have a candle, it is really hard to tell that apart from a person lying down. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
A question I have for the group collectively is, when you're thinking about folklore and taking elements of existing folklore into a story that you're going to work with, how much like do you take creative license? And when you're making those decisions about adding an extra element of how this works, or you're expanding on an existing idea in folklore, how do you think about that when you're taking that kind of creative license, if it's something that exists like folklorically?
Ooh. For me, it's kind of, I won't say easy, but it's like people in Filipino folklore especially, there's not a lot of there are a few records, but comparatively not a lot. And so a lot of what people are pulling from is generally oral tradition, which means that if somebody's version of something is different from yours, you just chalk it up to that's the version they heard when they were younger. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if they want to, like, people can add stuff and it's fantastical, but like at the same time, sometimes they add stuff and it wasn't like made, they didn't just make it up. They got it from like somewhere else and like it was an existing folklore before them. But sometimes you'll just also make up stuff because again, like there's not enough record keeping on this to have to not be able to kind of play with that. Plus, with vampire mythology, people like to add their own stuff. Like even though we can say that Twilight was not a very good anything, the stuff it had creative like additions to vampire mythology that were just add-ons to to existing vampire mythology that I found really cool. Like the idea that a vampire can sparkle, that's not a bad idea. That's like, one of the ways it's like, that's actually really interesting.
Feelings about Twilight.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily negative.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
There was something there
I think that's
at
really
the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, like that idea as well. I think like a key part of what folklore is and what makes it folklore as opposed to a story that has an original source, where it's kind of like it is all sort of like a tradition that's passed down orally or kind of almost crowdsourced through time in that manner, is that changeability is kind of part of its nature.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wonder about like thinking about when you're bringing a piece of folklore that you're not sure a lot of people will have had a lot of interactions with, and then balancing those things, wanting to be like, I want to show you this piece of the folklore that I'm really familiar with, and then being able to bring something unique and original to it at the same time is like really in keeping with what folklore is and how you share these stories. And I just think I just think it's really cool and really interesting how you weave this whole narrative around a traditional folklore character or creature out of folklore. It's something I've been thinking about a lot with 12 Elms as well. Is like, because the Selkies in 12 Elms don't just work like a straightforward Selkie from folklore, because I wanted there to be a bit more meat to the mechanic of them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's something that's really on my mind. So hearing about how other people approach it is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go.
I think there's like, oh, sorry. I think it's really interesting for a couple of reasons. One of them is we're all from islands, right? I think that's interesting in the context of our approach to folklore, because each of our land masses are like relatively small and surrounded by the ocean, which means people come and people go, maybe more often than they do if they're in a landlocked like heartland of a continent. And I think that at least for me, does have an influence on how I look at like the lore of the folk, because for me the folk are a constantly transient mixing group of people, and even though there might be certain like tribes or groups within that group of folk, like the folk move backwards and forwards. I would say every time the English Empire tries to assert like a prescriptive narrative to like the folklore of Britain, like that is imperialism, it's erasure, it's fascism, and like there is no such thing as a single folk narrative, because these are islands, but I also think it's really interesting, on the other way, in the other direction. So I became really interested in folklore and mythology as a child because my nan, who is Welsh, worked a lot with Indigenous people, particularly in Australia, and Navajo people in America. Mm-hmm. And so for me, kind of my understanding of folklore has always been really informed by my nan's understanding of and work with Indigenous people and Indigenous approaches to memory and the land and nature and spirit and magic and death and your ancestors. There's, for me, like the lines when I'm like looking at reworking a piece of folklore is like, okay, what is the thing here that the folklore is telling me? Like, with the Avank and the poison, right? Like, the one thing that I'm never going to change about the Avank is that it's poisonous. I might change everything else. I might make it like a humanoid, but like it poisons things and it's of water. Water and poison are like, for me, the elemental parts of it. But a good example across the ocean is two from Australian Aboriginal groups. One, there was a tribe of the kangaroo, and I don't know how familiar everyone on this call is with the Aboriginal dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Familiar?
A
Dreaming?
little.
Yes.
Vaguely familiar.
Very familiar.
Okay, so like basically, yay! Okay, well, I mean, Motsi, do you mind if I explain it, or do you want to?
Go ahead and explain it. I can't explain it well, but I've seen like a lot of storytelling
It's
about
a
it.
hard concept to explain. Yeah. So essentially, Aboriginal people in Australia, from various nations, all similarly believe that, you know, there's our world and the other world. And one of the reasons that I find this very resonant is it's actually very similar to the Welsh and Irish ideas of the other world in Welsh and Irish folklore. And actually Scottish as well, which is that there's a real place, and then it has a parallel place that is the place that is that place as it exists in the world of magic and spirits and death and memory. And that place, the other world, is a place out of time where ancestors might exist. And that was a place that once existed in reality, but then its age passed, and now we live in this world, the mortal world. But there used to be a time of spirits and magic and gods, and they were the ones who created the world. We are the shadows from Plato's cave, right? And so this is one of the reasons that for Aboriginal people, being in like your land is really important, because certain landmarks like mountains and stuff are like literally like that is the place that is like the heart of like a really important spirit to your people, or like this is literally the place where your ancestors go to be. And so a really great way to understand how to think about this is the kangaroo tribe. So like many of the tribes, many Aboriginal nations have certain animals that are particularly sacred to them. This kangaroo. The kangaroo tribe, so the kangaroo is like essentially one of their patron spirits. Essentially, it's not really, that's not really how it works. It's quite a Western way of looking at it, but you get what I mean. They believe the eye of the kangaroo was a diamond mine. And so they never mined the diamond because it was the eye of the kangaroo. And the eye of the kangaroo is not only the kangaroo's eyes, but also their eyes. And then Western people came, English people came, and mined it. And what happened immediately after they started mining was that everyone working in the mine, and also all of the kangaroos in the area, got an eye infection, but just in one of their eyes. So all the humans got an eye infection, all the kangaroos got an eye infection. And the Aboriginal people were like, well, of course you do, because you put a big knife in the eye of the kangaroo, that's what's going to happen. So to take it away to a different coast of Australia, there's a different Aboriginal nation which we know to be the longest continuous living human civilization in the world, and that includes the African continent. We know this because in the dreaming, which is the time before times, which is also the time that is always and now, and the place that you go when you dream or when you do certain rituals or prayers and when you die, in the dreaming they talk about a time when a spirit had like this big temper and made the mountain, you know, spew and bleed fire and connected it to the mainland. Anthropologists who were talking to the Aboriginal people who tell this story learned that there was one time, like once over 100,000 years ago, that this island actually is a dormant volcano, and once over 100,000 years ago it exploded and it created the land bridge that connects it to the land that is the Aboriginal people's land today. And there is like no, like, even like geologists, whatever, working in the area did not know this. The only way they could have known this is that they have an unbroken oral tradition from when the volcano exploded to now, without ever writing it down. And the same people have lived there that whole time and kept the same story alive, which is really, really cool. But again, I think for me, I'm rambling again, but for me, like, the thing that's really cool and beautiful and important about folklore and mythology is, first of all, it is the lore of the folk. And the lore of the folk is the folk who live here, whether or not they've always lived here, whether or not they look the way you want them to. It is the lore of the folk, and the lore of the folk by nature is changeable, because it's alive. but also that it's very, very, very often connected deeply and profoundly to place. Like there is, the Lake of the Avant. Like that lake holds that story. And every time someone says the name of that place, like that is that story. And yeah, those are the two things for me. It's like, if I'm gonna write a modern fictional story about a folkloric creature and I'm going to have them leave the place they're from, well, then I have to think a lot about, like, what is their relationship with that place and why have I taken them away from their place? And then yeah, the core elements, like, if you damage the kangaroo's eye, something has to happen, because the lesson here is you shouldn't damage the kangaroo's eye. If you drink from the water in the Avant Lake, then something has to happen, because that's the lesson that it's telling you.
Yeah. Ella, would you believe that that is a big part of Hainai, where the main character who has connections to Filipino gods is in another place that is not the Philippines?
No, I completely believe it, because it's honestly, for me, I'm agnostic. I don't know what I believe, but I broadly believe I believe that there is something that I don't understand. And one of the places that I land with that is that I do think, like, so many people around the world have this strong emotional and spiritual feeling of, like, there is this place, but there is also this place as it exists in our imagination. And even if you're going as, like, grounded and cynical as we're just talking psychology, there is, like, a relationship between a place as it exists in your mind and in your parents' minds and in your friends' minds and your grandparents' minds and the place itself. And there is a relationship between those two things.
Yeah. And I just want to very quickly run by a couple of chats. Hi Doodles, Paula says mythology was some of my favorite thing, I couldn't miss it. And gonna draw some here. Any suggestions? Dr. Loop says Esteban, and Doodles Paula says Esteban doesn't show until Tale 3. It's a little early to draw him. Dang. And yes, hi Doodles Paula. I just want to say hi to everybody. As far as, like, suggestions go, does anyone have suggestions for Doodles Paula's? For things to draw?
I love both of your Avanks. I want everyone to draw an Avank.
And I also wanted to say, or something you mentioned earlier, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was, the dreaming. Here's a fun little fact, because mythology and folklore are not the most prominent part of Hainai, but they're certainly in there. They're, like, deep in there. And one of the interesting things about mythology and folklore is that canonically the gods of the Philippines exist there, or not the gods of the Philippines, the gods of the Tagalogs exist there, because those are the gods that Mary worships, even though she's also half Catholic. And the other thing is there's an entity called the Other Mary, and Other Mary is, well, for, like, officially, she's my excuse to just have rambling short stories sometimes that don't exist within the framework of, like, phone call or tape recorder. So it's like, I want to write a short story. Other Mary is narrating it. That's what's going to happen. But Other Mary exists outside of reality because she's based on this concept in Tagalog mythology called what's it called? Oh no, why am I forgetting it? The twin. It's sorry, I gotta, like, for some reason the word isn't coming to me. It's it is, so there's a concept of the human soul in Tagalog mythology, or belief, in folk belief, called kakambal, which means the twin soul. So it is the idea that that every person has two souls, and one of them is the one that wanders around when you're asleep, called the kakambal, or the twin. So the twin is your soul. Basically, it explains why you have nightmares or dreams. It's that your soul is literally going out and having adventures and running around. And it only exists when you're asleep. And the other soul is when you die. So the other soul is called the kaluluwa, which is basically, once you die, that is your other soul. And so that's the idea. Like, basically, those are your two souls. And what's fun is Other Mary is technically the kakambal, or the twin soul of main character Mary, but she's kind of upset about something, and we're not sure why, but she has basically said there's a third thing in there that shouldn't be there, and you're like, uh-oh. It's like, uh-oh. That's the third thing. Oh no, it's behind you. But yeah, so that's like part of the interesting, like, deep lore of Hainai that's based on like the Tagalog mythology. And I also started making up my own mythology for Hainai as well. So there is a little bit of real world mythology, and then there's a little bit of my own mythology. And I've made up something that I find really fun called the Big Ones. So the big ones, because you know how people have complained that the eldritch gods that were like Lovecraftian are always misunderstood to be really, really big, even though that's not what makes them like elder gods. Well, in my world, my eldritch gods are just really, really big, and they're just big. So the whole concept of the big ones is that they're so big that it is beyond human comprehension, that's just what they are. And it's like it's what struck me when I arrived in North America, because I come from the Philippines. The Philippines is tiny. Like, it's a country, but it's tiny. It has 7,000 islands. So imagine 7,000 land masses of like a very small size, essentially. And so imagine living like that and then moving somewhere where the land mass is like 1,000 Philippines. You get it, right? So it is just like I came to North America and I'm like, that's horrifying. Let me make an incomprehensible bigness. Like that's what got me when I got here to North America. I'm like, incomprehensible bigness is bad for me. So I'm gonna make these scary eldritch gods that are just incomprehensibly huge, and that's gonna be my that's my made up mythology for Hainai. And
so I just wanted to check this because you were saying it. I was like, I reckon.
Yes.
The UK is smaller than the Philippines.
Yes.
The Philippines is approximately 300,000 square kilometers, and the UK is 243,000 square kilometers.
And how big is North America?
Yeah, it's not so big. I'm not even gonna but what it made me think was I am gonna Google it since I Googled everything else. But North America is 24 million square kilometers.
Yeah.
Which is just
too many.
It's too much. It's too big.
The thing that stuck out to me when I first visited North America was the sky is bigger.
The sky is bigger.
That sounds really stupid. But it is! The sky is bigger!
Genuinely, a problem that I have is because I grew up in Australia where, again, the sky is big, Australia is really big, and then I came back to England and I'm like, why do I feel so claustrophobic all the time? The sky is really small. I'm in a little box all the time. But it's just... Hero.
When I lived in London for all of 6 months, and I was like, I'm in such a big city that, like, I live in Belfast, which you can see out of in every direction. And then I spent 6 months living in a city that had more people in one city than on the entire landmass that I live on.
Well, you know what? You say that, and
you're gonna fact check.
Oh no! I mean no. Hey, I completely believe you. I respect you far too much. Oh, okay. But no, what it did remind me of, which I just thought would be entertaining, is Eira knows this story, but I've been living in Hong Kong for a long time. And I just found the answer to my question. So I've been living in Hong Kong for a long time, and I went to Bangor to learn Welsh, to do a Welsh course. And I was like, Hong Kong's a city, Bangor's a city. Therefore, Bangor must be equivalent in size to Hong Kong. And so I saw like buildings on the other side of what I would later learn as the Menai Strait. And I was like, that's also Bangor, right? So I just went for a nice little walk. And I kept texting my family and being like, yeah, no, it's Bangor's lovely. And they were like, are you sure you're still in Bangor? And I was like, yeah, no, it's just a lot of green spaces. I think they must have invested in a lot of parks. I just kept walking until eventually I got to the bridge, and I didn't realize that what had happened until I got to the big, massive sign on the other side of the bridge that went Croeso I Ynys Môn, and I was like, oh, I've literally just walked to Anglesey, which is a completely different place. But I just Googled to check how wrong I was, and yet Hong Kong is 1,500 square kilometers. Does anyone want to guess how many square kilometers Bangor is?
5. 6,000?
6.5 kilometers.
Oh, 6.5 kilometers, period.
I was 995 kilometers
Oh my
out.
God.
Ooh,
I
love the way that you told that story. It sounded like as soon as you started saying "No, Banger's lovely," your family are like, "Are you still there? Are you sure you're still there?"
Damn, called out.
Right. No.
To be fair, Bangor is lovely. It's just small. If you've been walking more than half an hour, you've probably left, or you're going in a circle.
I don't think we're in Bangor anymore.
Well, as it turns out, we weren't. No, I mean, my parents. I was sending them. To be fair, I was sending them photos, so it wasn't that they were like. I think my dad quite likes Bangor, but yeah, they were just like, Ella, there's a lot of grass for you being in a city, and I was like, no, I can see buildings on the other side of the water. Anyway,
Well, I just want to call out some chats real quick, if that's okay. Sassy Catastrophe says the state I live in is bigger than the entire massive Ireland. Correct. Yeah, I can see that. And Fractal Fan Alex says London does feel like being surrounded by city in every direction. And Dr. Loop says Bangor, Wales, where something the size of a parish church is considered a cathedral. Called out again. Yeah.
Listen. I also it's like Victoriosity was right when they said that London. To look at London, to look at the size of London is enough to make you go mad to try and take it in all at once, Like sometimes when they talk about the kind of eldritch horror of London, I'm like, yeah, I feel that. But I wanted to say with Watsy was
yes.
Obviously we also have loads of stories about giants. And I think it's interesting that we have people from islands with stories about giants. We keep making up giants. We're like, we have to be bigger than our islands.
Yeah. If the world exists, North America just as a concept scares me. And so I had to make up a whole, dang it, I did it again. I have to make up a whole concept like monster, which is just a... And what's fun is that the big ones in the Haina universe are considered gods, kind of. It is not clear what they are, but they are so big that they might as well be gods. That's the whole concept of the big ones in Hainai. And what ends up really fun is that a certain giant creature, a giant wolf. So in Hainai, there is a giant wolf who I call the Wahila, or the wolf. We also refer to her as the Wolf Mother. She was a runt of her people. She is about the size of an African elephant. And she's a runt.
Amazing.
And she's the last survivor of her people. Well, one of the last survivors. There's another survivor that is a giant elk that eats people. Whose horns reach the tops of trees. And the two of them come from a time when the big ones used to roam the earth, moving. They were moving around. And so she was a runt to her of her litter, being as big as an elephant, and that is the only reason she survived. She survived a great cataclysm that wiped out all of her the megafauna, essentially the great beasts, as I call them. So that's part of the Hainai lore. And what's even more fun is that this Wahila has run into Mary, the main character, and called her a little big one. So and so that's Hainai lore. Yippee! So that's some Hainai lore for you. And also for people who are saying London is very city, and that's totally right. London is very city. You're very correct about that. But I need you to understand what Manila is. I need you to understand Manila. It is, I think, I don't know if it still is, but at one point it was the most densely populated city in the world. In the entire world. Imagine a city that is so packed tight and has, I think, what was it? It was Metro Manila was a population of in the millions, but
I just
yes, bring it up.
I just checked for you. So Manila, according to Wikipedia, has a population of 1 billion people.
Yes.
As opposed to London, which has 9 million. So that is 1 million London's worth of people.
Yep. And look at how big Manila is in landmass. Check it out.
Okay.
The square footage.
I love that I'm the Google girl. Okay, it says as I've got how many people pass. You just ask me. Don't use AI. You'll destroy the world. Okay. So yeah, area is 42 square kilometers. Although the metropolitan area can go up to 2,000 square kilometers. And then let's see what London is. Yeah, okay, so London is also 1,500 square kilometers,
Yes.
and London has 9 million people. And Manila, the wider metropolitan area, goes up to 2,000 square kilometers and has 1 billion
people. Yes.
So yeah, like literally a million times as many people in London, but within the same size area.
Yep. So that's where I grew up, and that's so. I think you can understand why the bigness of North America scares me, because I lived in this very cozy, I say cozy. It was kind of a mess, but like this very cozy city. Imagine like basically being on top of each other and being like, and I've talked about this, but one of my anti-fears, so it's one of those that's a very common fear for other people, but is absolutely not a fear for me, is claustrophobia. It is an anti-fear for me. I feel great if I am like, I want to be burritoed like a kitten. That's my happy place. Like if somebody rolled me up in a rug and covered my face with to make it dark, I will fall asleep and I'll have a nice nap.
I'm with you 100%. I often think that like if they would only let me, I could sleep in like a car boot so happily.
Yes.
I would just be so cozy in that.
Yeah. So I've said like if they give me a proper amount of oxygen, if I was buried alive, no, not actually. No, I want to move. Like so not actually buried alive.
Get out.
Yeah, if I can get out and get in. If there's like this little very stable cave where it's just the size of a person, I can squeeze myself in and then sleep there and then come out and be happy. And so the opposite is true. I don't necessarily have agoraphobia, but if I'm presented with a gigantic unending space like that of North America, I'm frightened. I'm like, oh my god, what is this? I'm so scared. I'm gonna get lost and nobody will find me and I'll die. Like that's my concept. So it is just like being surrounded by about 1 billion people in my home for 25 years. It's why Toronto is the only place in Canada I can live in comfortably, because Toronto is the most densely populated city in Canada, and it is a nice, relaxing city for me. Everyone else is like, Toronto's so scary, Toronto's so chaotic, and I'm just like, no, it's so quiet, so much green space, the streets are so big, so leisurely.
Yeah,
it's really quite peaceful here. Someone screaming in the middle of the street. So peaceful. Sorry, go on.
My partner and I have he's from rural Donegal, where nobody is. He tried to show me where he lived, where he grew up on the map. It's not on the map. There's no label for it, and he's like, his nearest neighbor is like, he does have like a fairly close neighbor, but generally speaking, you're talking like a decent walk away. And I grew up in like terrace houses, like just attached to all of my neighbors. And he thinks it's insane that we have paid money to buy a house that is attached to other people's houses. Like, he's like, this is what, but they're right there. And I'm like, yes, that's normal. That's how people live. That's like, that's living
people
in community. And he's like, no, you want to be so far away from your neighbors that if you're screaming in your own house, nobody will know. And I'm like, I don't want that, Matthew.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, real sublime to the ridiculous feelings here. Like, I do enjoy, like, the range. I mean, like, I have claustrophobia, and Motzi, I put so much respect on your name, I couldn't do it. Oh my god, no, absolutely not in a million years. But then, to be fair, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely, like, I think I'm about as far away from that as I could be. And then, Hero, you were like, my partner's father. And I was like, oh wait, no, I'm not that far away.
Yeah.
I do want people to know if I die.
Yeah, exactly. No, literally. So much of the horror stories that I write in Hainai are like, and they were isolated because the next house over was like 10 kilometers away. And I'm like, no, that's horrifying. I hate that.
Like, there was a little while, like before I was doing podcasting or anything, when I was still sort of like writing more short stories. And there was a while where I was writing. There was one where someone was like trapped in a world where time had stopped for everyone else except them, and they were all on their own. And there was one where there was someone who was like ritually unclean at all times and had to live on their own up a mountain. And there was someone who was like isolated on this planet full of talking frogs, and nobody knew that they were there. And it was just like, imagine the scariest thing, and I'm like, being alone. We don't like that.
For
Wait,
me,
wait.
I think ideally I'd mostly be alone, but people would be a short walk away. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. Like when I talk about like my like utopia, money's not a problem, ideal version of life, it's like I have a little cottage with a herb garden and chickens and a dog and some cats, and it has a conservatory, and it's in the Alps, and I can look up at the mountains, and they're so beautiful. And I am like a mile's walk from the nearest village, so I can walk to the village, and I can go see everyone, and I know everyone, and there's a bakery, and I can get bread.
Mhm.
But I then walk back, and then I've got my books and my view of the mountains, and it's also beautiful, and there's enough space for my chickens, and yeah.
Yeah, I have a similar
if
thing.
If Matthew is out for too long, I just sit on the sofa waiting for him to come back, because I'm like,
Me too, buddy. Yeah, that's honestly
generally
me.
getting the cat. Like getting the cat has been so crucial to me being sane.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, look, I have a friend, and he's like,
Yeah. That's me though. I feel like, because also, other than the fact that I grew up in the densest city in the world, my family, we are a family of 8. So I grew up with 5 siblings. So living like semi alone is very bad for my mental health, which is why I'm always bothering people. I'm like, hey, come talk to me. Hey, talk to me. Hey, hey. So if I had like that ideal situation where money was not an object, even going even further, I would have a kind of like fancy house where the bottom part is like a cafe, or not even a cafe, like a community center where people can just come in and like do fun stuff and like hang out, where I can go down, socialize with people, then go back upstairs where no one will bother me. But like at any when my mood strikes me and I want to like chat with people, I will just chat with them. You know what I mean? So like having people around comforts me. In a similar vein to you, Ella, where it's like the house is just a walk away from a village. But like for me, it's like I really want people to be in my house, and so that I can go like at any time in the day, so I can go down and chat with somebody, and then once I'm drained, I will go back up. Like that's like having the choice, and that's kind of how it is in my house during Christmas. It's like they have realized that we are very sociable animals, like our family, but we need our own like time to go up and down. So that's become like, it's accepted. It's like, okay, we're gonna come down, say hi to everybody, chat, come back up, rest, socialize, like charge our social battery, come back down. And that's kind of my ideal situation. If I don't have like a gaggle of grandkids, I will just make the community like have a space in my in my house. That's like what I want to do.
mm-hmm.
I find that so deeply charming. Like that's such a wonderful thing about you. I'm like, in comparison, my fantasy is very selfish. But also, yeah, like it reminds me of the Love and Luck husbands, where like they're like, we think that Melbourne should have an alcohol-free queer community space, so they open up an alcohol-free bar, and then someone that's working for them is having a really hard time because they're trans and their family aren't accepting, so they're like, well, you've got to move in, and so they just convert their spare room into a bedroom for this person. They're like, you can just live here as long as you need. And then someone else who's working for them, it turns out like they don't have like documentation, and someone's really taking advantage of them, their landlord, and they're like, well, you should also move in here, but we want to make sure you have enough space. And it just so happens that the main characters of Love and Luck have magical powers over luck, so they keep just happening to find like beds on a deal or mattresses or whatever. And it's this really fun process where across the course of like 40 episodes, their like little kind of alcohol-free queer community space with their house house upstairs just slowly turns into like a motel for people who are having a hard time, where you just stay as long as you want until eventually you leave. They just keep adding people to their house, and being like, you can stay as long as you want, you can leave whenever you want to, but until then you're going to have a soft bed and warm food and shelter for as long as you need it. And it's just, I feel that feels very much like what you were talking about, Mark.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's kind of like the house that my childhood home is. It was renovated when I was a teenager, so it doesn't look the same as when I grew up in it, but I do like the form that it's in now, because we have, well, we had 3 floors. It's now 4 floors, and I didn't know about it. Quick tangent, I'm so sorry. Tangent. I went home in 2023, and it was Christmas, and my nana said, oh, could you get something from the fridge in the 3rd floor? And I was like, okay, cool. It's nighttime, it's very dark, and I just go up there, because, like, yeah, whatever, I'll just, there's light from downstairs, I can go grab the 3rd floor fridge, whatever, food. I open the fridge, and then I look beside me, and there are stairs that I've never seen. Mind you, I haven't been home in like 3 years, and the creepypasta about the stairs that appear out of nowhere struck me immediately, because that never scared me. But suddenly, I was faced with the creepypasta where stairs came out of nowhere, and I'm like, "What is this?" And it was worse because I was like, "Since when did we have a 4th floor?" I like called down because because there's an opening where basically the house is built in like a square or circle, and you can see the ceiling from, the bottom floor. So that's like, so you can call down if you're like up on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd floor. And so I called down. I was like, since when did we have a 4th floor? And then my brother calls back up. My brother, who lives in Singapore, who's presumably had been visiting home for often enough, was like, we have a 4th floor? And so my brother, who was supposed to know better, was also confused. So I was like, I'm gonna die. Like, this is something horrific has just happened and I'm gonna die. And then I was like, oh my god, there's stairs here that shouldn't be here. What the fuck's going on? And then my sister, who was also there, was like, oh yeah, didn't you know they built a 4th floor? And I'm like, no. And none of us knew, except my parents, who were living there, my youngest sibling, who had not moved out, and my sister, who had apparently they just told. And like nobody else. And mind you, this is a family of, again, like 8 people plus in-laws. So it is only those people who knew we had a 4th floor, and the rest of us had no idea. And so I was like, what do you mean?
Honestly, I used to think that I had like the best version of this story, or at least a good version of this story, which was that like my parents lived in Hong Kong, my brother and I would be away. We went back one time, our parents picked us up from the airport and just drove in a completely different direction. And we were like, are we being kidnapped? What is happening? Where are we going? And it turned out they just completely moved house without telling us. They moved all of our stuff and hadn't told us. And we just turned up to a completely new building. And they're like, yeah, this is where we live. And we were like, you forgot to tell us. But a whole new floor being in your house
yeah.
you didn't know about.
And here's the worst part. Here's the worst part. I came in, as I mentioned, right? Like, because the main part of the floor is like this, you can see the skylight from the bottom floor, right? Because there's this like sort of like what would I call it, like a hole, but like like the rooms are situated like around the center hole, and so you can actually call up to the 4th floor from the bottom floor if you just shout loud enough. And so I was standing there, I look up and I'm like, it's just like the house I remember. And then I was like, oh, there's some new, like they added some safety, like some safety bars so that people don't accidentally fall out, whatever. So that's all I saw. I did not count the floors when I had first arrived. I did not realize that there was a 4th floor. And I straight up looked at that and I did not realize there was an extra floor. I was just like, no, it looks the same to me. Because like they didn't raise the roof, like they just had somehow fit a very a very small 4th floor as sort of an attic space. And but they had added a whole set of like stone steps, and I was like, that's haunted. That's not real. Oh god.
I literally have a recurring nightmare that I find an extra room in my house.
Yeah. It happened in real life.
I could not get. Often the horror in the dream comes from, we could have been using that.
Like, why did nobody tell me?
I am I'm less scared than I used to be, but my big fear was guys secretly living in our attic. And the fear was always specifically finding out about the guy secretly living in the attic. It was never about the guy. That's fine. It's the moment of discovery. And I still we got a loft ladder installed, and Matthew's like, "Now you can go in," and I was like, "I don't go in the loft, Matthew, because I
I don't want to
refuse to
find
see the
anybody
man."
there. Yeah.
They want no knowledge of the roof man.
Yeah. I mean, that's correct, because, like, if the roof man's totally peaceful, then just let him be. You know, the moment he
Exactly.
gets found, that's when bad things will happen.
Exactly, and it's so it's like that thing where they're like, "Did you know your toothbrush has loads of like poo particles on it?"
Mhm.
And it's like, clearly the amount of poo it's fine to eat though, because we're all fine.
Yep.
So clearly, I have an amount of man in my attic that is fine. We're getting on. He's happy. I'm happy. We're all ticking over. You know, don't need to disrupt this equilibrium. You know, I'm like, that's fine. You stick to your schedule. I'll stick to mine, and I simply will not look out of my bedroom in the dark. Just in case.
Oh, it's similarly, it's kind of when I mentioned like my, you know, my ideal situation. That's my Nanai's ideal situation, because she told us, like, we have extra rooms to have family over, but also just because once you all move out or something, we're gonna make that into like a dorm, a dorm. And I'm like, yeah, that seems about right, because like, who needs 15 rooms in one house? Like, we make use of it when the family comes over, because we have on my Nanai side alone, we have 80 cousins and, you know, and nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles, 80, and that's not even counting my tatay side. So for the most part, the house sits empty.
There are 50 people in my entire family.
We have a clan. We have clans. Like the it's called the Rosales clan. On my Nanai side, we actually had a reunion in 2024, and 80 people attended, and there were still a couple who did not attend. So some people were missing. It's so even though I'm like, we don't usually have 15 people, you know, 15 people's worth of rooms, like 15 rooms worth of people in the house, but when we do, it's useful to have, because when we do, that is 30 people sharing 2 rooms 2 by 2. That's what it is in our family. So that's what I'm used to.
Wow. Can I just say, because oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, like, I really admired most of you who were like, you know, I want it to be like a community space. I want people to be there. I really want like the ambient people, but I don't really want to actually spend any time talking to them.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want them to be like, I feel, you know, like I feel so good about living on a street where people like their kids play out and I hear them talking and all that. I don't want to talk to my neighbors.
Yeah. No, that's so fair.
I want to be like,
that's so fair though.
I want to be full on like city vibes where I'm like, no, I need to have people around me, but I do not want to interact.
It's comforting.
Already people I know.
Sorry, Hero, I need you to know that the mental image I just got is, you know, when you go to the aquarium and there's those little like pods you can stand in, and there's like a little glass bubble over the top and you see the shark. It's like you, but like there's a street above you and you just occasionally like step up there and like, interesting cup of tea, like watching people moving around, but you're not.
This is why I love working in the library, because there's just people around, and my little Sims social bar picks up without me having to actually talk to anyone, because I'm just in a space where people are, and that's nice. And I let it wash over me, and then I go home to where people are.
One of my favourite things to do is to go to the cinema alone, and quite often I'll go to the cinema alone in the afternoon, because hardly anyone else goes to the cinema in the afternoon, so it's like you're almost alone in the screen, and that's great. But there are other people in my locale who also go to the cinema alone, and so I've started to recognise them, and we'll arrive for like the 2:00 showing of the new film, and we'll all sit like many seats apart, alone watching the film.
Yeah.
Like social.
Honestly, that's community.
Yeah.
Those are your Tumblr mutuals.
Those are your Tumblr mutuals.
We've progressed to We nod at each other.
We nod at each other. Exactly. No, for real though.
Would you nod at each other? Would you nod at each other if you weren't at the cinema?
Sure.
Because I think that's the next step. Would you acknowledge each other and that you?
So this has only
recognize
happened
each
one
other?
time, and it was because one of them was walking, he was crossing the road with me to the cinema from the supermarket that is opposite the cinema, and I saw him and he saw me and we nodded. And then we didn't talk the whole way in, and then went to see the same film
Yeah.
3 rows apart.
Yeah. That's ideal. I have a neighbor.
That's what I want.
Like that's what you call a neighbor, because I have a neighbor. I live in a condo, so obviously like not the most like friendly neighborhood sort of, but I have a neighbor who has like the meanest looking face, but I know he has this adorable little daughter, and so during Halloween I was giving away candy and people came to my door in this condo to like get some candy, and I got to know my neighbor. Like we've never spoken is the thing. We have never actually spoken, but I nod and smile at him all the time, and it's great because he has like such like a mean face, but when I nod at him he gives me a little smile, and then like he goes back to like looking really mean, and I love that. That's like so ideal. And like I hear his daughter like chatting very loudly as they pass by, probably going to school or something. And I believe I wasn't there, unfortunately, or I was in the bathroom, unfortunately, when it happened, but apparently at one point his daughter got lost on the floor, and he knocked on my door first to ask if I had seen her. And I was in the bathroom, so my roommate answered, but it was like, but you know, thankfully he found his daughter immediately. It's just like kind of a, you know, a winding floor a little bit, but that's a neighbor, you know, like you don't have to be friends, but if you're looking for a friendly face, you like, you know their room number and you like say hi. But yeah, no, I love that. It just say hi to a lot of people. that's like community.
Yeah, community is crucial. Also, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm really autistic, and I had 2 things, and if I don't say them now, I'm going to think about them all night.
Tell us.
So first of all, about an hour and a half ago, Eira said something about folklore and real life things, and I just wanted to add that CAMLANN, or as they're known in English, knockers, is another good example of this. CAMLANN being mine fairies, knockers also being mine fairies, which is the idea is that they're little fey creatures that live in mines, and they'll knock on the walls to warn you of things. They are friendly fey creatures. They're not there to hurt you, and they'll knock on the walls because they're telling you that the mine's about to fall down and you've got to get out of here. So they start knocking, and the more they're knocking, the closer the collapse is. And of course, in reality, this is natural gas pockets exploding, and it sounds like knocking on the walls. But many miners in both Wales and England very much believed in the knockers or the CAMLANN, who would warn you and tell you to get out if you needed to, which is just really cool. And the other one was I really wanted to give Hero and Motzi the fun drawing challenge of the questing beast from Arthuriana. The questing beast being a monster that has the neck of a snake, the body of a cheetah, the legs and tail of a horse. And I want you to see if you can, even just from that description, figure out what real life animal inspired the questing beast.
I mean, presumably a giraffe, yeah. Yeah. But when you said neck of a snake, I was reminded, do you all know Brennan Lee Mulligan? Mm-hmm. Yes. Have you ever seen his breakdown over Snilk?
No.
So this is ancient lore. So I'm a fan of Drawfee, which used to be part of College Humor and kind of became its own thing. And at the time they were all together, they had a stream with Brennan Lee Mulligan where basically Drawfee is like a comedy show, but it's called a sketch comedy, quote unquote, except the sketching is literally sketching. They draw for comedy. And they had an instance where they were talking with Brennan Lee Mulligan and they were drawing D&D creatures, and they drew a version of the Yuan-Ti that upset Brennan Lee Mulligan so much that it, like, to the point of just him having a total breakdown. And one of the reasons is that it's a snake lady, but she has tits, she has big swords, and she has a neck that is just a snake with a human body, and it upset him deeply because he was like, so when you said neck of a snake, immediately my first thought was, Snilk, because they were like, she had, like, Brennan Lee Mulligan literally said, like, she has mammalian breasts, which implies the existence of snake milk. And then one of the hosts, Karina, was just like, Snilk.
I also think sometimes I do find it entertaining when, especially like Western comedians, writers, whatever, people from the global north will go on these big rants as if, you know, in comparison, like a selkie being able to take off her skin and turn into a human woman, that makes perfect sense. That's how mammals work. Mammals regularly shed their skin and completely shapeshift. I don't know what you're talking about. In your stupid mythology.
I do that all the time,
listen,
yeah.
right? Like, look, apparently,
silly,
like,
I love
horses are amphibious and they only eat meat,
Yes.
as we all know from the lore of the Kelpie.
Yes.
Like, I really enjoy when it's like, oh no, we can't possibly have any myth or folklore where snakes have titties, because no, all folklore follows like scientific classifications as defined by Charles Darwin. Like,
It's really funny.
Little guy, maybe the snake can be sexy, you know? Maybe the snake
He
can
definitely
be
does
sexy.
it
Maybe
as
it's
a
not that
bit,
deep.
but I love that he was like, he definitely does as a bit, but I also love he was like, I'm calling the FBI, like, when he saw this thing. It was really good. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen that clip of Brennan Lee Mulligan and Snilk, just search Brennan Lee Mulligan Snilk, and it'll come up. I promise. It's really good. It's really good.
I'm losing my mind slightly at Quest Me Baby. On
my favorite one from Hero is that's the hottest fucking guy I've ever seen of the big Welsh rugby player who was with the titty mermaid who we met in Cardiff. It's like, yeah.
You're a Welshman. Oh, I know.
I also like the volcano being like, you explode one time.
Gosh. We still have 10 minutes. It's fine. I was gonna say, like, we're about to come to the near end, but no, we're not. We're still good. We're still fine. Does anyone have any questions for me at the end of all this as we are winding down, or any just thoughts you want to share about this lovely chat that we had? It's always a good time with all of you.
Do you have any comics coming up in the anthology that you are that you were like surprised by, that was like either like a story or a take on something that you hadn't thought of before?
So I have two. Not surprised by, but I think they're really funny to talk about. So here's the thing. I said, hey, everybody, we just finished, we funded and finished our erotic anthology. Please come over and, try out for our horror anthology. And people started trying out. And then I had to tell people, like, I'm so sorry, we're not doing the erotic anthology this year. There can be erotic elements, but, it won't be as explicit as last year. Think, like, rather than NC-17, it's going to be somewhere in the R-16 range. Like, we're still going to have, like, mature themes. We're still going to have horror themes. We're still going to have sexual themes, but not to the level that they were in the erotic anthology, to which the level was very high. I'm sure you know Ella. And... but people were like, yeah, no, I get it. They were very understanding. They were like, yeah, I totally understand. So one of them sent me these thumbnails, and it was so funny because I just given that note being like, hey, think of the rating as R16. You can still have sex, but like don't show like full frontals. You can still have erotic elements, just don't show this and that. And so somebody sent me their thumbnails, and there was this big giant like monster like leaning over the main character, and there was just truly no effort put into it whatsoever, which made it even funnier. Like, instead of erasing it outright, they had just put like this little wiggly line on it to like censor this just gigantic penis that they had drawn. Like, they just like put wiggly line, and they said, I'm taking it out in the render. And I'm like, this is really funny. They needed to tell me, like, I was gonna include a giant penis until you said we needed to, like, so I was like, I respect it. And it was just this little wiggly line. And the other one was that I was going back and forth with this other artist who was like, I really want to write this thing, and I was like, oh, it's like, I don't know if you can definitely write it, but like we have to follow these guidelines, and they were like, okay, I'm gonna do something different, and then like 10 days before the deadline for the thumbnails, they were like, actually, I'm gonna do the original thing again, and so we had to talk over like what they wanted to do, because the idea was, this girl has a girlfriend who is an aswang, and she was having her period, and her girlfriend would help her through it. And so I was like, listen, how do we make this erotic without full frontal? And so I had to go back and forth about, no, she can't, unfortunately we cannot have her bite her vagina. Unfortunately, we can't do that. So we were just going back, okay, and then finally I was like, how about her thigh? How about she bites her thigh? And they were like, oh, that's a great idea. And so we were just going back and forth on like what I'm trying to say is, when you're working with an artist, don't stifle them, but try to like communicate with them how best to fit within the parameters without losing the artistic vision. Just because we can't show her biting her vagina doesn't mean that it can't be that the spirit isn't there.
We can make sure everybody knows that was gonna be an option.
Yeah, exactly. And so those are some so that's some stuff that was really fun. So yeah, it's just like nothing I mean, again, like with Filipino monsters, there's lots of different ways that you can portray them. So it is like sometimes I'm like, if I see something that I don't know, I just figure, okay, that's just how you'd interpret them, because there are some core features that cannot be that are identifiable, and then anything else can be extrapolated. And like there are creatures I'd never heard of, then I look it up and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So like there are certainly creatures on this particular comic that I had never heard of, but that I find really, really cool. Like there's one called a lampong, which is apparently a dwarf that turns into a white deer to protect wild deer. But the way they had actually, you know what? For this last part, I'll show you the preview pages for this comic so that you can see like what they have shown these creatures to be. Let me bring it up on the magma thing actually, so that everyone can see these comics right before we say goodbye. Here. So here we go. Oopsie. F11. There. Okay. So here's the cover. Does everybody see the cover? I think.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. It should, yeah, I don't need to move anybody. So the cover is based on a relic, an existing Catholic relic of the skull of Mary Magdalene. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yes. I think so.
Yes, the skull of Mary Magdalene was like in this golden relic. It was kept in glass, and it was kept in like sort of this. It's so scary. I love it. It's like so scary. It's a real skull encased in gold and glass. And so I mixed it up with the manananggal, which is the half creature that I've drawn on the stream. So, but this art is by the wonderful Lily Resh, who you'll see later. So this is the lampong one. It's Predator and Prey by Kay Sorio. And this farmer runs into, was gonna hunt this deer, and then gets found by the lampong, which is how they have decided to show the white deer, which is awesome. It is so spooky. It is so scary. And then, and you can see like you can see the white deer right here. And then there's more. Oh, here's my bit. So this is actually the official Hainai comic, or at least part of it. So this one is about a younger Mary who meets an Encanto. And as it says, when Mary tries to leave, the Encanto starts ripping off its many faces, trying to find the one that'll make Mary smile. So she's just trying to find her way home from the forest when she runs into the Encanto. And it basically, I think you can see, the Encanto is trying to make her stay because it likes her. So she's like, no, I gotta go. And the Encanto's like, oh, that's kind of funny. Like, the Encanto's trying to be nice, but also she's not human. So, not having very human reactions. And this last bit, content warning, gore, for everybody who's looking. So here's a bit of gore. Encanto starts ripping her face off. Yippee! Okay. Gore done. Anyway, continue. So that's the Hainai comic. It's going to be 15 pages in total, so that's only 6 of the 15. So if you want to see more of the Hainai comic, fund our comic. Yippee! Anyway, here's a couple more. A Full Circle by Lily Resch. This is the cover artist. Amazing job. Very mysterious. I don't even know what creature is being referred to here. That's how mysterious it is. But, the only strict rule was that the artist was Filipino, so it doesn't matter to me, quite frankly. And we have a lot of ghost tales in the Philippines, so it could just be a ghost, if nothing else. And so, just good art all around. And so, yeah. Support this art. It's just so cool. Oh, this is the one that I mentioned earlier with the they did not try very hard to erase something. And it's beautiful. Look at this art style.
Sorry, Moxie, the way that you timed that sentence was that you didn't try very hard to erase something. And it's beautiful. Really made me think you were referring to something specific being beautiful and not just the comic generally. I'm sorry.
Both. and this one's really cool because I know it's meant to be a monster, but what's more interesting is the fact that it takes into account the historical houses that are kind of slotted in between the very tall buildings in the Philippines. So this is a historical Spanish house, and this guy sees this ghost of an old Spanish nobleman or Spanish era nobleman at the window every night. And he's just like, "Come on in." Definitely, when a hot ghost tells you to come over, can you even say no? So that's what's happening.
Can you?
Can you? Look at him. And then, these are some other ones. This one's about a queer 12th grader is seemingly haunted by their deceased classmate and partner. And then here. I just love the style here. Just the colors here. And this one is about the storms of the Philippines. No, I mean, there's other stuff, but the storms of the Philippines, which I love, the way that it's been depicted here. And then I'll just go through until the end. This one's called The Wak Wak Woman, and I think I can show you what it looks like very quickly by one of our wonderful artists. And just this. Ta-dang. Ta-da! I love that panel. I love this whole panel. It's just so cool.
Yeah, for real.
It's just so good. And then finally... this art style is amazing. So Paglamon, it's a sapphic love story involving cannibalism. Hooray!
Yay!
And they just look like old, the painting style here is so good. It's basically about this woman who gets turned into an aswang, and the other woman is trying to find a way to save her. Or they're trying to find a way to save her and instead just decides, I'm just going to give you some of my flesh. Like you do when you're in love with a girl. That's just how it goes.
Sometimes you just have to let a girl eat you,
Exactly.
And that's fine.
Exactly. And this is the one I mentioned also. This is the one with, she has dysmenorrhea. So her aswang girlfriend comes on over. So this is super fun. I was just like, this is a horror comic, but we're still about monster loving, so And this this is by Lex. So I mentioned Lex earlier, who's the voice actor. He's also just an amazing traditional artist. He just does a fantastic job when it comes to hand painted art. And also he's very, he's being very careful here with a lot of content warnings. I'm just gonna scroll through it quickly, but you'll see really cool horror here. His art style is so scary, and I love it. And so, yeah. And then here's the last one. It's just a little piece of art. And that's it. Yeah, those are the... So you see, we have a lot of preview pages, essentially. And, you know, hopefully everyone supports the arts, because we do want to make sure that comes to fruition. And yeah, that's about all I wanted to say, honestly. We are coming to the end of this show. I didn't want to keep you for much longer because it is nighttime for all of you. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Oopsie. Do you have any other things you want to say or share or talk about before we leave?
I don't think so. I'll just say again, Fat and Pulse, me and Lauren Shippen, making a show about ghost-busting 90s band. They're all gay and having big feelings about it, and also just being a band. That'll be crowdfunding in a month. So if you like ghosts and gays and being queer in the 90s, then check it out.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if you're into... Sorry, Cat just jumped off my lap then and completely interrupted my sentence. Very rude of her. But if you like fantasy and mysteries, 12 Elms is releasing episode 3 a week today. You can listen to it now on Patreon if you fancy. But if not, there will be the 3rd episode will be out next week. There are already 2 episodes you can listen to. Very magical, creepy, and kind of weird, and a lot of queer longing to come in that show. And my other show, Remnants, just launched season 2 last week. Episode 2 came out on Monday. Episode 3 of that will also be out next week. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
You don't make life easy for yourself, do you?
No.
Really doesn't. Can confirm. I live 10 minutes from this guy's house, and I swear to God, every single time I text him, I'm like, why? Why is this how you live? Anyway.
Yeah, for me, Traveling Light, we are releasing our 61st episode on Friday.
Wow.
So there's time to get your teeth into. They're quite short episodes, so you can binge listen. If you want a nice, a little respite from the general world of audio fiction, just something a little gentler and a little cozier, Traveling Light got your back.
Mm-hmm. In contrast, I mean, well, Hainai hit its 69th episode recently, and in contrast, if you want to ruin your life with a show, it's a good time. If you want to ruin yourself emotionally and also listen to something really scary, but also very, very gay, and also not very short episodes. The first half of Hainai is like 40-minute episodes, and then the latter half is like 15 to 20-minute episodes. But if you want something to binge and enjoy and has like a really fun analog style horror sound, and you like horror podcasts with an overarching plot and a lot of queer characters and a lot of really cool mythology, go listen to Hainai. Watch out for our announcements about my upcoming horror podcast, Dominus, which is a Catholic horror. And please, please, please support the Pinoy Monster Horror Anthology, where we are releasing the official Hainai comic as part of it. We want to make sure that all of the Filipino artists are paid, that queer Filipino monster romance is, spread out to people, and for the books to get into your hands. So yes, and these wonderful folks here agreed to join me so that we could promote this comic. So please do check out the comic and check their work out as well. This VOD will be available on our YouTube channel at Hainai Pod soon-ish, as soon as it's like downloaded and re-uploaded. So thank you so much, everybody. Please have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining me, and good luck on all of your works, and mwah. Maraming salamat. Thank you so much. Bye. I will now stop the stream.